Hi, everyone. Depending on where we are, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Aleksandra Szaniawska, and I work at the Polish-U.S Fulbright Commission. Welcome to the fourth and the last panel of our very successful EducationUSA Poland Virtual Fair. Just as a reminder, EducationUSA is a U.S. Department of State network of advising centers worldwide. In Poland, EducationUSA network provides information and advice, which is free of charge on accredited higher education institutions in the United States. Let me remind you that this event is being recorded and it will be shared online afterwards. If you have any questions for our panelists, please type them into the Q&A section or a chat box, and representatives will answer them as you type them in. Our panel today focuses on schools that, apart from regular courses of study, also have the so-called honors programs. Honors programs are an opportunity for selected high-achieving and highly motivated students to dive into their studies more thoroughly. While the curriculum is similar to non-honors programs, students in honors programs have a chance to dig deeper into the material and collaborate closely with fellow students and with teaching staff. Students are selected into honors programs upon admission in some universities. This really depends on the school. It's either directly or by fulfilling additional program requirements. Some schools offer honors programs to students who are already enrolled at the university during their course of studies. And the selection is generally based on the GPAs, on high test results, sterile applications, and so on. Our guests today include 5 representatives from institutions that provide such programs. Please help me welcome Kurt Harris, Director of Learning Abroad and Associate Professor of English at Southern Utah University; Petra Marlin, Director of International Recruitment and Admissions at the University of Southern Mississippi; Antonia Borman, Regional Outreach Associate, Western Europe at Minerva Schools at KGI; Patricia Bergantino, Assistant Dean of Admission at Providence College; and Lisa Shen, Assistant Dean of Admissions at Swarthmore College. This panel will be divided into 2 parts. First, school representatives will tell you about their institutions, and they will show you some PowerPoint presentations, and then we will move on to the Q&A session. So let's start with Southern Utah University. Kurt, the virtual floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Dobry wieczór. Thank you to the EducationUSA Poland team for organizing the event, and also to the students and parents who are attending today. You might hear me refer to Southern Utah University quite often as SUU, just so you know and aren't confused by that. But I want to start by showing a short video that displays the educational experience beyond the classroom that students can get at SUU. This lasts about 1 minute, and I'll meet you on the other side.
Slow down. Look around. Breathe it in. You're not dreaming. In our own backyard, Southern Utah University has 20 national parks and monuments, all within a short drive from campus. Students go on once-in-a-lifetime adventures every day, thanks to an educational partnership with the parks and SUU Outdoors. Create lifelong friendships in a place where you can climb to new heights and soar to your fullest potential. College is more than confined spaces. At SUU, you get out of the classroom and explore places that transcend the imagination. It's our unique surroundings that inspire us. Find beauty. Find strength. Find yourself. This is the life of an SUU student.
Okay, so it really is this beautiful. I'm not from here originally, but fell in love with Southern Utah 20 years ago, and moved here and haven't left since, except for some travel. So where is Southern Utah located? Well, Utah on the U.S. map is here in the west, and Southern Utah University is in a small town of only 30,000 people. It's called Cedar City. It's surrounded by the scenery you just saw, a lot of national parks, state parks, fresh air, wide open spaces. It's very safe. COVID-19 didn't hit very hard here. We were able to keep most of our classes face-to-face in person, which was great. It's less than a day's drive to the beaches in Southern California, Hollywood, Disneyland. Las Vegas is a fairly popular weekend destination for students. So we have access to quite a few big cities actually, but it's in a very small, safe place. And of note, for those who like theater, we're home to an award-winning Utah Shakespeare Festival as well. The programs of study that we offer, I know you've heard from some universities that spoke mainly about STEM, perhaps some that spoke mainly about the liberal arts. We offer just about everything here at SUU, and focusing on bachelor degrees. We have over 120, I believe, bachelor degrees that we offer. This is just a selection here on this screen. We have special accreditations, the top accreditations in business and engineering. We have performing arts, certainly, business. Whatever your major is, we probably offer it here at SUU. Will I be welcome at SUU? You certainly will. We have a lot of international students. You can see here the top 12 countries and territories. Over 60 countries are represented at SUU, 7% of the total school population. We have roughly 12,000 students now total. We have only one student from Poland. And we want to make her feel not so lonely for her countrymen. So we hope that we get more students from Poland. We also have a professor in arts who is from Poland. Our application is pretty simple. As the previous university representative said, we're offering a waiver for our application fee if you use a special code, and I can put that in the chats a little bit later. We require proof of English proficiency. We do have an intensive English program for those students who aren't quite prepared with their English to get you up to speed so that you're successful in your classes. We require transcripts, a copy of the photo page of a passport, and proof of finances. That's all fairly standard. We do offer scholarships, several different levels, and on this slide I'll say that we're NCAA Division I in several athletics, men's and women's basketball, men's and women's track and field, men's and women's golf, women's soccer, men's football, American football, women's gymnastics, and women's volleyball. And those offer special scholarships too that you can add on top of the merit-based scholarships that we typically offer to international students. And in addition, there are departmental scholarships that students can add on to these. And in all honesty, most international students get this top scholarship. So it's $8,500 per year, and it's good for 4 years, as long as you keep your grades up, certainly, and you continue to be a good student. There are several other levels, however, as well. With regard to the honors program, we'll probably speak about this as a panel in more detail later. We do have an honors program, certainly, and it's really a great community of learners and scholars, small class sizes with top professors. We're a teaching and learning school. We're not a research university. And so the relationships between professors and students are already in the general classroom fairly close, but in the honors program, it's the top professors and the top students. And I saw that we have graduation coming up fairly soon, and we have 25 students who will be graduating with the honors designation along with their general degree. And we do have several international students in honors. In fact, our student body president is from the country of Mali in Africa, and he's an honors student. So we really appreciate the international students who come to SUU. We have lots of services to support them. And with that, I believe my time is just about up. So I will just say dziękuję, and I will stop my screen share and turn it over to the next panelist.
Thank you, Kurt. Thank you, dziękuję. And I would like to ask Petra Marlin now from the University of Southern Mississippi.
All right. I'm really excited to be here today. And let's see if I get my screen sharing underway here. All right, can everybody see that? I'm from the University of Southern Mississippi, and we are located in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, which is down here in the southernmost part of the United States. We're about 2 hours from the city of New Orleans. We are also a Division I school for athletics, and we're also an R1 research institution designated by Carnegie as such. So there's about 130 of those in the United States, and that really just speaks to how much research funding the university receives. And I'll talk about some of our top research majors in a minute. But the other thing I want to point out is that we are the most affordable among those R1 institutions. And so we're really a best value institution when you think about it that way, because you'll have a lot of access to research as an undergraduate student. And the other thing is that we're probably one of the smaller of those R1 institutions. And so that means that a lot of our undergraduate students have access to research, especially of our international students. I find that they really are engaged and they seek out those research opportunities and receive them. And that really benefits them when they go on to apply for future degrees. And we even have a good number of students that make it directly into PhD programs from their bachelor's degrees because of the research experience they receive here. These are some of our most popular majors. By far, not all of them. We have over 180 majors, but in terms of our international students, we see them mostly in the computer engineering, biological sciences, business, polymer science, construction management areas, but we've got a lot to choose from. But the one major that I wanted to focus on a little bit here, because it is one of our specialized areas that we offer with very good job prospects, very good employability, is our polymer science and engineering program. So basically this is material science and engineering. So you're making man-made materials out of polymers. And it is ABET accredited. That's important for engineering type majors. And we're one of the first schools, I believe, to offer bachelor's, master's, and PhD programs in this field of study. So we really are kind of a leader in this field. And there are lots of different research areas to go into. So if you're interested in chemical engineering and the sciences in general, you haven't thought a whole lot about what you might want to do, this is an area to definitely look into. I did mention our affordability earlier, so I did want to point that out. We're in a location that is fairly reasonable to live in, and also our tuition for non-residents is only $2,000 more than our resident tuition. So our total annual cost, pretty much including everything, is just over $24,000, and we offer some really great scholarships. However, you do need to take the SAT to be considered, and if you're applying for this next year, you really need to apply early and be admitted by December 1st, 2021 for 2022 in order to receive automatic consideration for these scholarships, because we will provide up to the value of full tuition based on a 3.0, which is like a B average GPA. And then depending on your SAT score, it goes up from there. Again, that's automatic consideration. And then our Honors College also provides some additional funding. So if you are admitted to the Honors College, it requires a separate application. It is you receive an additional $2,000 per year for 4 years, and you're considered for our Presidential Full Ride Scholarship and also Discovery Scholarship, which is kind of a partial ride, covers your full tuition, your housing for 1 year, but then it gives you a research stipend and a study abroad stipend to study abroad. And we have several international students receiving those awards this year, 2 presidential awards, and then I think 2 or 3 of the Discovery Awards. We admitted over 30 or so students to our Honors College that were international students this year. These are some key points that I think were kind of addressed earlier just in a little introduction. We are an acceptance-based honors college, so you do need to apply. It's not automatic admission. You do graduate with an honors thesis. You have to live in honors housing for the first year. And like I mentioned, there are additional scholarships you can receive. And there's a strong focus on research. So the application process requires that you're admitted by December 1st. It does have an SAT or ACT score requirement, although this year we did waive that for some of our international students because it was they weren't able to take it. It requires a 3.5 GPA, and then you're going to have counselor and teacher recommendations, which if you may need to get those translated, although our honors college really does want to work with international students, and so they are working with understanding that not all international students have a school counselor and those kind of things. And then it requires an essay and also a supplemental item. So something that maybe is creative, something that you made on your own, wrote on your own, those kinds of things. And then it has a pretty early application deadline of January 15th. We are one of those schools that has a later entry point as well. So if you come in and you miss all of those deadlines, we have a number of international students that have come in later, and they apply after they've completed about 3 semesters of coursework, and they also have scholarship opportunities available to them. So these were the awards that I spoke about earlier. They really are some great awards and can make attending very affordable. I love the Discovery because it gives you the opportunity to also study abroad on one of our programs. So that's exciting. And that, I think, is all that I had, and my time was just about up. So with that, I'll pass it on to our next presenter.
Thank you, Petra. Thank you. And our next presenter is Antonia, Minerva Schools at KGI.
Yes, 1 second while I just get this screen share going. Okay, there we go. I will try and be succinct. So hello to everybody. I'm Antonia. Nice to meet you, I guess. I am an alum from Minerva Schools at KGI, which is a university that you live in 7 different cities across the world within your 4 years while studying and while getting your degree. So I'm just going to give a little bit of an overview of what that is, as well as talk about our Visiting Scholars Year, which is our version of a honors program. Okay, so there we go. So Minerva is a very unique school, and it's very outside of the box. We think that traditional education is broken, so we're trying to fix it, and we're trying to start up something new. We believe to be an effective leader, an effective innovator, you not only have to understand the world, but you have to see it. And that's why we have our global immersion program. So like I said, the jobs that are going to exist by the time you graduate, most of students today don't have the skills for those jobs. So what we're trying to do is, again, reinvent higher education, make sure that students are trained in not only gaining knowledge from their degrees, but being able to understand complex problems, have a skill set and have a mindset to be able to tackle the complexity that comes with, the day-to-day problems that we have in the world that are emerging. So what do I mean by these skills? We focus particularly on practical knowledge and critical wisdom, enhancing, systematic skills, cognitive ability, and again, just trying to help our students think outside the box. And I will get a little bit more specific into what these skills are. So within your first year at Minerva, you take 4 different classes, and within these 4 different classes, you focus on these 4 things that I have on the screen. The first one is critical thinking. So being able to evaluate claims, being able to understand how to make effective decisions that are evidence-based and informative. making sure that you have creative thinking. So this means like how to approach a problem, how to solve a problem effectively, effective communication, both written and verbally, and then effective interaction. So understanding how to work in a team, understanding things like negotiation, bias, BATNAs, things like that. These are all different examples of the kind of skills that you would learn at Minerva. So how do we learn these skills? Well, like I said, we learn in 7 different cities. So these are the cities listed on the right of the screen. We have San Francisco, Seoul, Hyderabad, Berlin, Buenos Aires, London, and Taipei. You spend 4 months in each city. So within your 4 years, you live in each city for about 4 months, and then you travel to the next one. The cohort of your class is usually around 100 to 200 people. You all live in the same building and you all travel together. So the friends that you met within your first week will be with you and you'll get to travel the world together, and it's very fun, speaking from experience. So these are the 4 different courses that you would study in your first year. So fundamental analysis is a lot more about, coding, statistics, data science, understanding logic, how to think rationally, how to, again, approach a problem and make correct, informative and evidence-based decisions. Empirical analysis is very similar, but more scientific. So you understand the scientific method, understanding what hypotheses are, how to test them, how to frame them, whether or not they would be feasible, and understanding how to kind of take that scientific method to things that perhaps are outside the science fields. Multimodal communication was another one about how to understand how to, effectively communicate, both on a verbal and written basis. Sorry if I'm going fast, I'm trying to fit this all into 7 minutes. And then conflict systems, which is, again, effective interactions, understanding how people interact, understanding, why people act in certain ways, why people think in certain ways, and based on that understanding, knowing how to approach certain problems. So how we teach that basically is broken down into 3 different things. So we have our very structured courses, courses that from your very first year, you have this idea of breadth. So the 4 courses that I just went through would be in your first year. They're very broad, you understand lots of different things. And as you progress through your 4 years, you get narrower and narrower until you produce your capstone, which is in your final year. You spend an entire year having a very, very specific narrow focus. So the whole point is as you gain knowledge, you're being able to kind of delve further in. Active learning as well. We have no lectures, we have no exams at Minerva. The whole point is a flipped classroom. So you are working with the professor and they are able to understand, they're able to teach you in a more effective way, basically. So instead of having lectures, we only have seminars where you have to engage, you have to do your reading beforehand and you're talking the entire time and being asked questions, which can feel scary, but definitely improves your learning. It's been proven scientifically that's a better, a more effective method of teaching. And then we use class technology, our forum, to be able to teach our classes. So our classes are all taught online, which allows students to travel the world.
Yeah, there's no sound.
Well, that's sad, but that's okay. I will post that in the chat and people can watch it later. But I will just kind of skip to, this is an image that you can see where this is kind of what your classroom looks like. So you're able to see all of your classmates. It's all fully live and they're also recorded so you can come back to them. The professor isn't allowed to talk for more than 5 minutes, so it's very, very engaging. We have different things like polls where you can see graphs and graphics that can be really helpful. You're able to write up your notes. It's very advanced, and the whole point of this forum, it was specifically designed for teaching. So when I say online learning, it's not Zoom or anything like that. We have a specific platform that has been developed. And then let me just get to the next slide. So this is an overview of our courses. Again, if you're interested, you can go onto our website, which I'll put in the chat, and you're able to look at them a little bit more. But this is just an overview of the kind of courses that we offer within our 5 different colleges. Again, apologies, I'm going so quickly. These are different experiences that our students have had in different places, and they've been very successful. And then the last thing that I want to cover briefly is who belongs at Minerva. So we're looking for those people who are extraordinary, the people who stand out within their high school. If you are looking to find a challenge and you want adventure, then those are the kind of people that we are looking for. And if you're interested in this, but you're not too sure, this is where our honors program comes in. So our visiting scholars year is a way to kind of understand what the Minerva experience would be like without fully committing to the 4 years. So it's a 1-year program. At the end of it, you get our cornerstone curriculum certificate because it's the full first year experience that I talked about with getting those skills, understanding those 4 different classes, and not having that broad mindset. You can study from anywhere in the world, so you're not committed to a certain place. The overall cost is $15,000 for the 2 semesters. The deadline to apply is June 1st. It's a free application. So that is just an overview of our visiting scholars. So again, you would be able to take the full first year curriculum. You'd be able to have these credits and apply them to a different university or to transfer to Minerva for the full 4-year program, including the travel afterwards. If you're interested in just doing the 1-year program, you'd be working on the online forum in the same way that our normal undergraduate students would be working on the online platform as well. Yes, so if you're interested, we encourage you to apply. We have our application is on our website, which I will link in the chat right after this presentation. We do have the Common App. However, our normal cycles for taking in students has just finished on March 15th. We are taking students on a rolling basis, so I encourage you to apply if you're really interested. If you're interested in the visiting scholars year, you have until June 1st. If you're interested in the overall 4-year program, then you should apply on a rolling basis, so just apply ASAP. And yes, so this is the old admissions calendar. So we finish our traditional admission cycle. So I don't apply on the Common App, but apply on the website and you will be considered on a rolling basis. We do offer financial aid as well. So make sure that if cost is a factor for you, then it shouldn't be. We offer need-based financial aid and we meet you where you're at. Our application is also free, so that shouldn't be a constraint. And yes, that was me in a very, very brief way of saying everything. And I will post some more resources in the chat for everybody.
Thank you, Antonia. And now we're moving on to Rhode Island, Providence College, and Tricia.
Well, good evening. And actually it is midday here in beautiful Providence, Rhode Island. For those of you who may not know of the state of Rhode Island, we are the best kept gem on the East Coast, located about an hour south of Boston or 3 hours north of New York City on the Eastern Seaboard. Providence offers just the best of city life in a campus community. We have diverse cultures, rich experiences. We're about 3 miles from Brown University. So most of you probably have heard about Brown University to kind of give you a little bit of context. And so we're all within this really great city with a lot of great activities for people to engage in. We are a city that has all 4 seasons. So you will not experience just warm weather, you will experience it all. And sometimes we think that the weather plays games with us. We get, a pretend summer and a pretend spring sometimes. At Providence College, we have about 4,000 undergraduate students. We have a 56% female, 44% male ratio, and the average class size is 20, and the student to faculty ratio is 12:1. So what does that mean? Why is that important? It means your faculty is going to know who you are. We are an undergraduate research institution, so knowing your faculty is essential when you start talking about your next steps and opportunities. So what makes us unique? Outside of just being, a fantastic small college, but we are the only Catholic and Dominican university in the United States. The Dominican friars, they really believe in a balance of faith and education in the search for veritas, the search for truth. So with that, you will see 50 friars on campus. They live on campus, they pray on campus, they teach, they work as administrators, as staff members. And so they are very engaged in our community. We also have a liberal arts core curriculum. So that doesn't matter if you study the STEM, if you study business, if you want to study the liberal arts, everyone's going to have that liberal arts core. We want to make sure our students are well-rounded, that you can think on your feet, that you can present information, and that you're able to do critical research. So doing that, providing a core curriculum, we believe helps our students do that. Most of our core is in the development of Western civilization, and this is 16 credits over 4 semesters. And at the end, there's a colloquium that ties it all together, and it's co-taught by 3 faculty members. And I'll just highlight Civ for a minute because this theme here is the honors program. Our honors program is basically within this special development of Western civilization course. You're studying the great Western works of really how our civilization really developed over time. And so with the honors program, there's actually 5 semesters of Civ, not 4 semesters. So there's that extra level of rigor for those students who would like to participate in that. At Providence College, we are engaged in academic excellence. We have engaged learning. I've mentioned research briefly. Research, about 37% of our students do participate in research at Providence College. And because we are primarily undergraduate, that means our faculty members turn to you. They want you to do the research, and they help. If they have a big research project, they'll usually tap on our students' shoulders. Sometimes these are paid opportunities. It's really a great way to really start building up your accolades and your resume. Outside of research, Providence College is known for global education. About 60% of our students participate in some sort of off-campus study. 40% of our juniors participate in study abroad, and 20% of our seniors participate in study abroad. We also have a study away for Washington, D.C. and PC in Hollywood. So we have a couple of different other opportunities for students. But 100% of your financial aid, so if you are a student who is applying for financial aid and you do choose to study abroad outside of the United States, your financial aid will go with you. It does not just stay when you're only at Providence College. So it really opens up a lot of your opportunities that you might be seeking. Student activities. PC is known for its work-life balance. Basically, our students are very engaged. We are Division I sports. We are on the East Coast Conference. So if you see a lot of those basketball teams that compete against Villanova and some of our other rivals, Connecticut, that is Providence College. We are with that group of schools. We have over 120 different clubs and organizations. So anything from social to academic, pretty much anything you want to imagine we have available. Prior to the pandemic, we had John Legend on our campus, and he did our Midnight Madness at the end of the basketball game. And so it's just really always a lot of excitement going on at Providence College. I think we were probably one hockey slot short this year from winning the championship, which so we're kind of sad about, but we'll get them next year. It's okay. But Providence College is just a lot of energy and certainly a great place to be. Now, as far as the admission process goes, we really look at your strength of curriculum. We will, of course, since you are on the Polish system, recalculate your GPA on an unweighted 4.0 scale in the United States. We do look at the strength of your curriculum. If you're in a national curriculum, that's certainly okay. If you're an IB curriculum or A-levels, we certainly understand the rigor of those programs. And depending on what you get, whether it be higher level or A-level, you might be able to get academic credit for your program. So something to think about. When we recalculate your GPA, the other thing that we look for is either TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo. If English is not your first language and you did not learn in an all English speaking curriculum, you will have to provide an English proficiency test. Other things I want to mention about Providence College is that we do require the Certificate of Finances or the CSS profile upon application. We are need aware in the admission process. That means we are considering you for scholarships when you apply, but if you are a student who is going to need financial assistance, then we need to be aware of that in the process so that we can see how we can help you with that. As you can see, there are four cycles with 2 different deadlines. If you're early action, early decision, we will let you know before Christmas break. If you are early decision, you will find out by mid-February. If you are regular decision, you will find out by mid-March. So let's talk about scholarships and talk about the Honors College. Most of our merit scholarships, students who get scholarships, they also get an invitation to the honors program. It's just really the cream of the crop who are getting into the honors program, and that's because of the rigor of the academics within that. You're getting our finest faculty and a lot of special cohorts for study abroad and community service. And so that is a special program. As far as merit-based aid, we offer a lot of merit-based aid. Now, these percentages are based off of our domestic students, but a lot of our average need-based aid when it comes to international students is about $45,000. So it's a pretty significant amount. But it's also more selective, again, because we have a limited amount of financial aid to offer students.
Trisha, thank you so much.
Okay.
We will go back to financial aid actually in our questions, but I really want to make sure that Lisa has an equal chance as all of you, and that we actually also have a Q&A session. So thank you so much for your presentation. And Lisa, Swarthmore College in Pennsylvania.
Thanks. All right, so let me, one sec, get to my presentation. All right, so I promise I will not take too long, save the best for last. So I am representing Swarthmore College. We are located right outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So we are a private college of liberal arts, sciences, and engineering. So you may have heard from some liberal arts colleges before. So we are very similar in many ways to that, but we are unique because we do have a fully accredited engineering program. So we are 1,600 intellectually curious students. Because we are so small, we are an undergraduate only institution. So we do not have any graduate students. So anything that the college offers is strictly for undergraduates only. And about 14% of our student body is international, representing over 75 different countries. And because we are a liberal arts institution, we are very interdisciplinary in nature. We really believe that all fields can be scaffolded with other fields. So if you are studying engineering, you should also be studying peace and conflict. You should also be studying art or architecture or anything else. We also have the opportunity for students to design their own major. So if you do not find a major in our list of majors, you can create your own with the help of faculty members. We do have an honors program, which I'll talk about in a second. And we also have pre-professional advising for students who want to go on to medical school or law school. And like I said, we're located right outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, about 18 kilometers outside. And we are an Arboretum campus. So you can see in my background and in some of our photos, our campus is also a curated garden. So you step outside and you see all of these beautiful vistas, as well as a 100-acre woods that students are welcome to walk around when they're trying to decompress. Swarthmore was founded by Quakers. So we were founded in Quaker, we were founded under social justice. So we really believe in civic and social responsibility for all of our students. The Quaker founding is also believes that everybody has an inner light within themselves and nobody's light is greater or less than anyone else's. So we are no longer Quaker affiliated. We're no longer religiously affiliated, but we do still believe that everyone has this inner light and everyone deserves a chance to show it. So we encourage our students to be collaborative and not competitive. So we have a pass-fail first semester to kind of break your barriers, to break it down so that you're thinking about the classes in terms of what you are learning, not in terms of the grade that you are getting. So everybody gets pass-fail. You either pass or you don't pass the class, and only you and your professor are aware of your actual grade. We also do not calculate a GPA for any of our students. So when you graduate, we do not give you a grade point average. We don't have anything that indicates whether you are a better student than anyone else or a worse student than anyone else. You're welcome to calculate it yourself, but the college will not do that. And we are committed to access, equity, inclusion, and affordability. So we operate a cash-free campus, which means that students on campus do not need to pay extra for anything that they need related to their studies or related to their time at Swarthmore. So that could be something as small as printing a paper to something as big as attending a Broadway show in Philadelphia because it's part of your class. So we definitely want students to not think of the ability to afford things as a barrier to participating in anything that the college has to offer. And we also have quite a bit of funding for research and social justice projects at Swarthmore. So every year we fund about $800,000 US for research and social justice, and that number actually increases year by year. We are part of a tri-college consortium with 2 other liberal arts colleges in the area, Haverford and Bryn Mawr. So even though we are a small school, the Tri-College Consortium really opens up our campus, opens up our student body to include all of those other schools as well. So you are not alone in southeastern Pennsylvania. You can certainly participate in activities at those schools. We are also part of the Quaker Consortium with the University of Pennsylvania. So students can take classes at UPenn if they so choose. So financial aid at Swarthmore, we meet 100% of determined need for any student applying for financial aid, and that includes international student. Our financial aid is loan free, so we do not expect you to pay us back for anything. And the average financial aid decision for international students is about $66,000 US a year. And we will need students to submit a CSS profile and an ISFA, which you may not know about right now, but you'll learn all about later on. And for international applicants, we are still test optional this upcoming year. So not submitting a test score does not negatively impact your application or your financial aid award. It's simply another marker on your application that can tell us something, but it's optional. And we are also optional for the TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo, but it is recommended if you do not study with an English curriculum. And we also have interview options available. So our honors program is fairly unique. It is modeled after the Oxford tutorial system. So Oxford, Cambridge, Oxford. It's open to all disciplines, and it's actually just a major. So it's not anything special. You don't get a special dorm. You don't get a special meal plan. You don't have to have a certain GPA to get in. You simply apply to be an honors major at the end of your sophomore year when everybody else is deciding their major as well. So it's an academic program only. And the focus of the honors program is deep collaboration between students and faculty. So we have seminar classes where you and 2 other students maybe are with faculty members, really talking in a deep way about a specific topic, or you're doing a special project with the faculty members and other students. And so you as a student can tailor your seminar classes, you can tailor your major to your individual needs and interests. And what I mean by deep study is, let's say that you are a history major, potentially your honors thesis is about medieval architecture from a very specific time frame. And that is exactly what you're going to study, and that's what you're going to spend your honors major doing. And then at the end of your time at Swarthmore, can I just finish the external examinations?
Sure.
Yeah, so external examinations are just an outside expert comes in and tests you and gives you a grade. So it's not Swarthmore faculty. Sorry, that's the last thing I wanted to say. I didn't want to confuse people with that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lisa, for your presentation. We're going to actually jump in right into a question that relates to honors programs in our Q&A session. So I would actually like to ask all of you, how could international students specifically take advantage of honors programs or the honors programs equivalent, as in the case of Minerva School, at your institutions, and why would you say it's worth it for them to do it? Kurt, would you like to start?
Sorry, yes. I think the biggest advantage for international students is to join a community of top scholars, other students who are motivated and have been top students perhaps all their lives. We do have an honors housing option where the honor students can live in an apartment setting together. But I think it's really the community that's built and the friendships, in addition to, you know, the more rigorous academics.
Thank you, thank you. Petra?
Sure, I would do everything that Kurt said, and then I know for Southern Miss that they really encourage that undergraduate research option, and I think that really helps when students are applying to grad school, because you know, master's degrees aren't always fully funded, but it certainly helps when a student has with significant experience in research. And then, as I mentioned, you might even be able to apply directly into PhD programs depending on the level of research that you completed. And so that is then beneficial for funding your further research in the U.S. And I know we've had students that went on to, grad some grad research assistants, maybe in the interim year as their OPT, and then they've applied and gotten into PhD programs or further schooling with great scholarships. So I think that it just really supports your further education and your goals if you really want to go into academics and research. And that's not just for the science field, that's in any field because we promote it all around.
Right. Thank you. Antonia?
Sure. So like I said, our overall program, we'd be looking for those talented individuals anyway. For anyone who's interested in the Visiting Scholars Program, it's accessible all around the world. So you don't have to be in the US. You can take it from anywhere. We are a US institution, but you can take it from anywhere. So it opens up a lot of doors for people who can't travel, especially with the pandemic and visas and things like that. It's a good way to have a gap year that will give you an academic qualification at the end that you can use to transfer on to university afterwards. And then also just in terms of being able to network with people, like everyone has said, it's always great to, talk to people all over the world. And if you decide to transfer to Minerva afterwards, you'll be able to meet those people in real life, and it's a lot of fun.
Thank you, Antonia. Tricia?
Hi. So, at Providence College, the honors program is a special cohort of students. So only about 125 students are actually invited per year and to participate into this special cohort. So you're really building rich relationships with people who have the same level of ambition and students who really enjoy the same rigor as you do. But as I mentioned, there's also special study abroads and community service opportunities. So you can really have that mentorship from different faculty members that are from around the world, and also different opportunities to serve in a way that you might find enriching as well. And at Providence College, upon graduation, there is a special designation to know that you have also participated in the honors program.
Thank you, Tricia. And Lisa, you can probably finish off your final slide now.
Yeah, so at Swarthmore, because the honors program is actually just an honors major, it's really a decision that students make. So the benefit is if you want to dive deep into a specific topic. So the way that we see it is non-honors majors have breadth of information while an honors major has depth. So it's, just a way for you to really go into your interests in a deep way, and to have special one-on-one conversations with faculty members as well as the external examiner, who is an expert in the field that you're interested in. Thank you,
Lisa. One of the questions that actually appeared many times in our participant registration form is, probably not surprisingly, about the COVID-19 pandemic. And I would like to ask you, how has the pandemic affected admission process at your institutions? Whoever wants to start.
I will say at Providence College, it hasn't necessarily impacted the admission process, because I'm the coordinator of international, so I actually approve every application or deny every application. It's I lead that committee. I will say what is going to be interesting is actually responding to students who are intending to enroll, and what guidelines they have to follow by CDC, so the Center for Disease Control, and getting here is going to be what the challenges that we have to work about. Rhode Island, for us, and I can't speak for other states, but it doesn't matter if you've been vaccinated, you still have to quarantine for a certain amount of days if you're coming from an international location. So I think those is going to change. And as far as international admissions, I think what's going to be interesting is the feature of being able to travel and meet students in person. Right. I think that's what's going to be more heavily impacted. I'll let my other colleagues speak, but that's kind of.
Thank you. I can see that Antonia raised her hand. Antonia?
Yeah, I just, so our admissions hasn't been changed at all because it's an online process. But something else that hasn't changed is our academics. So like I said, our academics were designed to be online anyway, like 5 years ago. So as speaking from personal experience, I graduated last year and right in the middle of the pandemic. And one thing that was really nice is when the world was, you know, on fire everywhere, that my academic structure didn't change and I had that sense of stability and I didn't have to learn a new platform or struggle with that. My academics were exactly the same and it was the same kind of quality. So that's always really helpful. And yes, obviously the travel aspect changed a little bit, but we still tried to keep as many cities open as possible. So if you're interested, feel free to contact me about that and we can talk.
Thank you, Antonia. Anyone else would like to answer this question?
I would just say that our admissions, oh, sorry, Petra.
That's okay.
Our admissions didn't change much either. We, in last spring, made it possible late last spring for all classes to be taught online, either synchronously or asynchronously. So at the same time the student was, or the professor was presenting in the classroom, that would be recorded. Students could watch it live if they were overseas, or they could watch it later as a recording. And then all of the classes, whether they were still taught face-to-face or moved to completely online, were still available to students. And we're pretty much in that situation still, although I don't know what will happen with fall 2021.
Thank you. Petra?
Yeah, so we're planning to go ahead with face-to-face classes in fall 21, but we really didn't have to change too much about the admissions because we were always SAT, ACT optional anyway for admission purposes. And then we also are pretty flexible with our English. Like if, you know, students are attending like an international type curriculum, British, IB or American, you know, we recognize that for proof of proficiency anyway. And so we did add the Duolingo for this year. We're kind of monitoring that and seeing if we will continue with it. I'm not sure that we will, since TOEFL is also creating their own quick version that might be a little bit easier to assess, but that was really the only thing that we kind of added in there.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Lisa, would you like to add anything to this?
Yeah, very similar to my colleagues here. Swarthmore went test optional for 2 years, which I think is the biggest change, but it's something that we had been considering for a while. But otherwise, our admissions process has been very similar, and we do plan on being in person in the fall 2021. Thank you.
One of the questions that appeared many times today during our 4-hour fair in the Q&A section and on the chat was, what makes candidates stand out to you? What are you looking for specifications, or if your colleagues are reading applications, what would you say is this one thing that really makes you not discard the application into the pile? Kurt, would you like to start?
Well, we're not an entirely open university. We don't accept all students, but we accept pretty much all students. And really the GPA, grade point average, is considered, but it's not the most important thing. Really motivation to learn. If a student really wants to come and can demonstrate that, we will make it possible. As I mentioned, we have an intensive English program that can help students, you know, get up to speed really if they need to in order to enroll in courses. But to get an application to stand out, really just be yourself, I guess, is my advice, and be motivated to learn.
Thank you, Kurt. Antonia?
Sure. So we are very rigorous with our admissions. Our admissions rate is 1.9%, so it's very, very low. But you know, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't apply. You know, it's free and there's nothing really holding you back. So I don't see why you shouldn't apply. You know, I saw that number and thought I'm never going to get in, and I did. And I had, you know, best 4 years of my life. It was great. So I would say my advice would be never let something put you off. You know, if it's something you really want, go for it. The kind of people we are looking for is definitely those people who stand out from the crowd, those who are extraordinary. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's to do with grades or to do with this other thing. You know, if you've spent all your time helping out a family member, or if you've, you know, volunteered all your time at a charity that you really care about, that's fantastic. And that's what we count as extraordinary, you know. So just give it your all and really reflect who you are in your application. And you never know, you could get in.
Thank you, Antonia. That's what we say to students: be yourself. It's hard sometimes, but it's very true. Lisa, would you like to add something on to this discussion?
Sure. So Swarthmore is a very small institution, so that we're very intentional about who we admit to our school. So some of the things that we like to highlight is civic engagement, intellectual curiosity, ability to work with others. Those are, of course, things that all schools care about. But what we really are looking for students who can show us how they've really done that in their time in high school or in their personal life. And also, like Kurt and Antonia said, motivation is really important. So are you doing these things to get into a good college? Or are you doing these things because you're interested in the activity or you're interested in the topic? So those are all things that we hold value to and we consider when we are reading the applications.
Thank you, Lisa. Trisha?
You know, I think my favorite part of the application is always the essay. It's the one part of the application I feel like that someone's not telling you about the student, like a letter of recommendation. And it's also not always as form driven. It's really a chance for a student to express themselves, for you to hear their voice, to really engage with them. And so I would say that's usually the one part that captures and sometimes can make or break a candidate. So for example, a breaking of a candidate can be not checking your grammar, your content, and making sure that it's understandable. That, you know, those important things, those consistencies throughout your application are always very important. But on the other side of that is, you know, a student who is able to really express themselves. You know, I've seen really great essays that are almost like poetry, you know, and you really felt like you really got to know the student. So that really makes it stand out.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Trisha. And Petra?
Yeah, echoing everybody, what everyone else said. I mean, Southern Miss does that, like for the actual application, like to get in, we're kind of more like Southern Utah, where if you meet our admission standards, you're going to get in. We don't even require an essay or letter of recommendation at that point. However, I have worked at other schools that have a holistic review, and I participated in the honors application review this year and got to read those essays as well. And so, you know, I know what our honors college really kind of, you know, emphasizes is they don't necessarily want those students that played it safe. They're looking for students who, you know, put themselves out there, maybe took some risks. I don't mean like the bad kind of risk, but maybe you know, it's okay to take a class that challenges you a little bit more, even if you don't make a perfect grade in it, you know, and it's okay to make mistakes and learn from mistakes. But they want those students who are going to challenge themselves and not necessarily play it safe, and that becomes evident in their application. And then I guess, you know, as far as the essay, I've read a lot of essays, and the ones that stand out are just those essays that get to the core of the student, that you, after you've read it, you feel like you really know them. And I don't know that it necessarily has to be poetic or anything like that, but you know, there are some really simple things that you can pick out about yourself that make you unique. And I don't think people realize that often, but there are. And by the end, you're like, wow, I just kind of feel like I sat down with that person, even though you didn't, you know.
Thank you, Petra. Well, this is actually, it's 8 p.m. here in Warsaw. Kurt, Petra, Antonia, Patricia, and Lisa, thank you so much for taking all the time to prepare for this panel, to join us today, to show us your wonderful presentations and engage in this discussion. And this is the last panel And if you have any specific questions to our panelists or to school representatives from this panel or from any of the previous sessions, please contact them directly. You can find their contact information on our EducationUSA Poland Fair's website. You can also double check all of the information now that you've met the representatives. Once they told you so much about different aspects of studying at their schools, please go back to the website and contact them. As many people have been saying before applying, well, when you're thinking about applying, go to the website, their websites, and contact admission advisors directly. Thank you all for joining us today and have a wonderful rest of the day. Goodbye.